people having a greater quality of life, whatever that is for them. Life on their terms, not my idea of what a quality of life is, but theirs. And people come to me all the time and come to events and they want to transform their business, or they want to transform their body, or they want to rebuild or deepen a relationship or create one, or they just want to feel joy or happiness. We're all pursuing all these things, but really it's just this experience of life at its highest level that we're all searching for. And over the last few decades, early in my life, I figured I didn't have much control of my external world. There was so much suffering that I figured I got to master that. And so I worked hard and for decades learning from the smartest people I could. How could I achieve, succeed, break through, master myself, push myself? And all those tools you could call maybe the science of achievement. It's like, how do you take what you envision and make it real? How do you go from having possibility to actually creating that in your life? But as I experienced that over the decades, I also noticed that so many people who are great achievers were just not happy. I mean, I go to India, I usually go about every 12 to 18 months, and I remember when I first went there, I was like, this poverty was overwhelming to me, and it was so confusing to see people so happy, because all around them they seemed to have such squalor. I'd see someone sitting in the street and there was just so much joy in their eyes if you took the time to feel them and talk with them instead of judging the environment. And then I'd come home to the United States where there's all this external abundance, and you'd find people, many of you know, I wrote Money Master the Game. 50 of the smartest financial people in the world, self-made billionaires, and I wouldn't say the majority of them are really happy. And it has nothing to do with the money. It's that the internal world was not mastered. So if there's two sciences or two master skills, I think, in life that we want, it's like if we took East and West and put them together and we didn't make the other one wrong, we'd say, hey, it's mastering the science of achievement, but also the art of fulfillment. And of the two, for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been traveling the country, really trying to get people to feel and experience the beauty that comes when what's inside is great, regardless of what's outside. The outside world will never make you happy long term. What you get will never make you happy. Who you become, what you experience, what you give, that's what makes us really happy. So you see so many people now are caught up in what I call learned helplessness. When you've been disappointed, you get a gut check, but most people pick themselves back up. But if you get disappointed enough times, there's a point when your brain goes, the problem's permanent. Or it's pervasive because I can't turn my business around, my whole life is over, which is not true. Or it's personal, there's something wrong with me. And so I want to break those patterns and give people a direct experience. So if what's coming at you, you got to slow it down, stop it, and say, now what am I going to create out of this insanity? Because that's the great thing that happens. I know it sounds, optimistic, and I think you know me well enough. I'm not one of those positive thinkers. I've never been. I believe in intelligence. I believe in seeing things as they are, but not worse follows you. I mean, most people have seen The Social Dilemma. They understand that literally you are being tracked in every single thing you speak, say, do, and everything you're going to see. It's different. If you type in global warming and you're one person, you're going to complete different set of answers than if you type in global warming and you're another person. So we're living in a world where it's hard to find truth. And so the first place you got to realize is you can't control out the outside world. You can influence it, work, and get the right strategies to make it happen. Yeah. So for me, it's really slow it down. And everyone needs a compelling future. What do I mean by that? Anybody can deal with a tough today if they have a compelling tomorrow. Consciously what you want your life to be. So changing your body radically by a workout, by a run, by a push, by whatever you're going to do, shifting by feeding your brain every single day, and then making sure every day you're taking some form of action towards a compelling future. Like, what am I going to make better? If you have nothing to look forward to, you're going to be pissed off, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be overwhelmed. And in those emotional states, even though you're a smart person and you know lots of things, you won't use anything you know. So to me, the leverage to changing somebody's life is always starting with the human body. If I started to speak to you and I spoke my body, now I'm not saying everybody needs to talk fast or loud like me, that's my own physiology, that's kind of trained. But everyone has different gears. And when you're low gears, like you can be in a great relationship, somebody you totally love, and you're both in a great physical state, emotional state, everything's great. You both get a little low from taking the kids to 20 soccer practices and cash flow problems in the business and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, same love doesn't feel like the same love. You still love each other, but it doesn't come across. Maybe you're both stressed out. Then it creates problems in the relationship. So the most important factor in your life is the ability to manage your mental, emotional state. Is the one thing you have complete control of once you learn how. Then it becomes just the daily discipline, and it's not even discipline, it just becomes habit. To say, I'm not gonna live in this lousy pace, I'm not gonna put up with it, I know what to do, let me do it, let me move forward. People, a belief is a poor substitute for an experience. You can have a belief about China. I take you to China, you're going to have an experience. It's very different. And so I think human beings need to put themselves more in experiences. A lot of us today, especially with COVID, being stuck at home and doing business from home, a lot of people are stuck in their head. And I tell people, get in your head, you're dead. You'll just go in circles. Get in your head. You got to get that body and that energy moving, and then your head will start to work as well. If you recognize financial patterns, you can do great things. You recognize patterns in business, you can turn around any business. You know, that's what I've been doing. I have 105 companies now. We do $7 billion in business, and I have no business background. But I recognize the patterns, and I studied the billionaires that started with nothing and said, what did they do? How did they do it? How did they turn it around? So if you can recognize patterns and if you can use them, you got a great advantage. But then gradually over time, like, you know, if you go to play the piano, you usually play other people's music initially. And then there's a point where you come through. Now you start creating patterns. And when you start creating patterns, that's when you become a dominant force in business, in life, in the marketplace, and with your children or anywhere else. And so for me, those are the three most important kind of skill sets that anybody's going to have. Answer to you to say, I don't believe environment is the most important thing. In fact, I know it's not. The inner environment is the most important thing. I could take you person after person in the worst environment who found a way to thrive still. And so if you buy it's the environment, you're gonna end up being a victim, even though that's not your mentality. It's just where it goes. Now, can I enhance my environment? Can I choose people to bring into my environment? People I want to learn from, I want to get coached by, people I want to help? Yes, and that's critical for your long-term success. The hardest part in life is creating momentum. So when that all happened, you know, I had built something of momentum over, 40 years, literally at that point. Around the world, and what do you do all of a sudden when suddenly they say you can't do an event with more than 10 people and you've got 15,000 people scheduled to take over the stadium? And you know what I did? I went, we're going to Vegas. They're never going to shut down Vegas, right? But then they shut down Vegas. I was like, I know, I'm going to rent a church, a mega church from a buddy of mine in Houston, 15,000 people. They're not going to keep Costco open and shut down the church. They kept Costco open and shut down the church. So I got to the point where it's like, what do you do? And when you think there's nothing you can do, that's when you can do something. When you think I don't know what to do, that's when you know what to do if you just push yourself. But all that comes from just taking action and momentum. If you build momentum, you can accomplish anything. You've seen it in sports. You see a team that's dominating and then somebody steals the ball and the momentum changes. Your job right now is to create momentum. And that's why I'm building this challenge, is basically say to you, let's do a breakthrough for you right now so you know it's real. If you're going to have an extraordinary life, you have to remember, losers react. Winners anticipate. Leaders anticipate. Your job is to anticipate. So how do you anticipate? You read, you listen to podcasts, you find people who are the best in the world and figure out what they have to say. Not everybody's got an opinion. Yes. You got to separate two skills out. I think most people in life think success is getting what you want, and fulfillment is living what you're made for. And so getting what you want is not that complex, right? The human brain, you can train your brain to become this servo mechanism that'll go figure out how to solve something. A lot of people had a goal or desire where they got so obsessed they couldn't stop thinking about it, and they didn't even have a plan, and they met somebody and then something else happened and it came together. Right now, if they also had consciousness and effort and discipline, and it's a heck of a lot easier to achieve those things. But frankly, with enough focus and enough massive action and enough consistency and modeling what already works, you can pretty much achieve anything. If you align with it and you have high energy, money's the same way. Fulfillment's different. Because what fulfills people is completely different. It's like, you want to know what the universe or God loves, go to a forest. What do you see? Everything's different. So people have got to find what makes them really fulfilled. But I can give you, there's not laws like there are for success, but there are principles. And there are two principles I can tell you to answer your question, who's most fulfilled. It's people that are growing and people that are giving. We are made to grow. If we don't grow, it doesn't matter how much money you made, it doesn't matter how many people gave you Academy Awards, stars on your chart. I mean, I get the phone calls from all these people who you would think have the greatest life in the world, and then they're calling me because it's not so great. Because they haven't mastered the inner world. They're good at the outer world. But this one hasn't been given enough time or energy. They've been so focused out here, and they've done so well out here. Not so well in here. This is the one you want to do well on. You do well here, you can master the outside world too. You can handle anything. So for me, it really comes down to looking at it and saying, okay, if you and I are going to have an extraordinary level of fulfillment, what's going to make me grow? Because that's what's going to make me proud. And to grow, you got to face challenges. And I think the biggest problem most people have is they think they shouldn't have problems. So how could I possibly suffer when I've been able to live this magnificent life? It's just the mind. If you don't direct this thing, it directs you. It's like you use the mind or it uses you. You use stress or stress uses you. And so I said, okay, so how am I going to do that? 0 to 20 is, for most people, springtime. It's where it's the easiest to grow. You're being taken care of if you're lucky. Some of us, maybe not. Some of us have to take care of others at a young age. But regardless, overall, 0 to 19, 20, 21, you get to gather and learn information and be taken in to some extent depending upon your life. Then what happens 21 to 41? You go test that and decide what you believe. Like they told me how to be this way, screw that, I'm gonna try this. You go to college, you go try something, you start a business, you get in a relationship, and you have all this testing procedure. And so now you go through the hot summer of figuring it all out. And then if you've really done a good job planting in the spring and building through that summer, you'll hit the autumn where you get to reap. Where if you've done really well, 41 to 61 is a reaping time. But that pattern is in people's lives. And then 61 to 81, and if you're lucky, 81 to 102, that's the extended next season of winter. But winter could be the best season of your life. You have a great time with your family, you're close, you're mentoring people, you have a different experience, you have plenty of business, you can do whatever you want to do or not want to do. So those are seasons, but then there's one more pattern. And this is the one I hope I'll reach your listeners or viewers with. There's a pattern of history. It's often been said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Any lesson we don't learn from history tends to repeat itself, because as the older people die who have that history, like let's say the World War II generation, then the lessons are lost.